Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about the comic book industry having its stapler moved repeatedly. There is an ongoing trend among comic book publishers to move employees to permanently work at home or use co-op space. And this tells me that one, financially, these companies aren't doing as well as they used to.
No, there's a lot less overhead if they work from home.
Right, and there's a lot less overhead, and the pandemic has shown just how many corners you can cut in the comic book industry and still get comic books out the door. Now, whether or not you can sell them, that's an entirely different discussion.
Maybe it has something to do with the pandemic and more if they can't sell comics.
Right, we're going to talk about this because this situation might be used to get rid of union workers too. And I gotta wonder if there isn't something going on. But yeah, apparently Image Comics has also moved its offices remotely. IDW has closed their San Diego office. I didn't know that. Marvel's moving people, of course DC moving to this building, and they're going to have like a WeWork type space where 20 to 30%, I guess, of editorial or workers or whatever will be there at a time, but nobody has their own office anymore. It sounds like a situation where at any point in time, they could very easily just pull the plug on comics because they don't have any long-term commitments to rents or anything like that.
That's a downgrade. That is not an upgrade.
That is not an upgrade. And apparently
who's saying it's an upgrade?
Apparently some DC Comics workers, I think even Van Sciver got into it, which is weird. I don't talk to him very much on Twitter, and he actually chimed in on this one. People were trying to argue with him, I guess, that it was
not an
upgrade because the building was more expensive. It's like, yeah, but you get like this little corner over here, and even Heidi McDonald is like, compared to what they had in New York, this is nothing.
Yes. Oh no! How dare she? She's clearly Comicsgate.
Clearly Comicsgate. But yeah, we'll talk about that and how it might play into the situation with the union over there at Image Comics. Before I get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Over 260,000 subs. Thank you so much for the support. We do talk a lot about the comic book industry, having worked in and around the comic book industry for a number of years. No, I never had an office. I always worked freelance in comics, and we did work out of our houses, and a lot of people who work in comics work out of their homes. But it seems like they're moving editorial now to remote work. And once you get somebody out of the office, it is so much easier to get rid of them. That's usually one step removed from, hey, you're basically just freelance now anyway. So bye-bye. I don't have to look at you. When I fire you, I don't have to actually look at you. So I don't think this is an upgrade at all. We're going to talk about this. Rich Johnston put this article up on Bleeding Cool a couple of days ago saying that Image Comics has moved their offices. Now they're a remote working publisher.
Oh, so all the people that were office staff that demand to have, say over projects, now they are at home doing the same thing that they did in office, which wasn't, it was basically office work.
Yeah, basically office work, which might
But there's no office.
There's no office. So on Facebook, Eric Larson talked about how Image Comics had also moved locations for similar reasons to DC Comics, which I talked about a little bit in the video, and we'll go out and talk more about DC Comics here in a couple of minutes. But he said during the pandemic, a lot of companies rethought their expensive workspaces when employees were forced to work from home. Image Comics moved to a smaller office, and most employees work from home now. It's not the end of the world. It makes good economic sense when you can't physically be in a space for more than a couple of years. But Image is hardly closing up shop. We're hardly closing up shop. We had a terrific year. We made even more profitable. It was made even more profitable because we didn't have to pay for a huge empty office.
Well, that's probably true, but it's made profitable by books that sell. That people in the union think that they should be able to decide who gets to have printed.
Yeah. We had a nice space that was sitting empty for months, and moving out was a huge benefit for the company. Readers don't care. That's true.
It's true.
That's true.
I mean, you don't have all the overhead.
They don't see the office. It means nothing to them. Getting rid of that space didn't hurt our sales. If DC can have everybody working from home, great. Granted, if you can, it can be great working in an office, shoulder to shoulder, being able to easily spitball ideas and such. But I've worked at home for most of my 40 years, and I've been making comics. It's worked out fine for freelancers.
Yeah, that's what they do anyway. Yeah, I mean,
it does. And I know I actually have some pretty good friends in the industry that actually work remotely. And I was surprised that they were working for the companies they were working for, being on salary and working for those
you used
publishers.
to be on salary and work remote.
I was for a number of years,
Right.
yeah. So it is possible. I think, it was hard to find remote work for the longest time. And now with the pandemic, it's like everybody's remote.
No, it was weird. It was like there was a lot of it. And then everybody got really weird about having people work remotely and they weren't letting people do that. And then it like jumped right back to that again.
Well, I can tell you what happened. There was a lot of it in the mid to late 2000s until companies started to realize it's like, well, wait, if we can work remotely with American employees,
Yeah.
we can hire people overseas and pay them a lot less to do the same
Pretty much.
work and not have the hassle of like work visas and all of that. Because we had the one company I worked for, we did a lot of software development for the government. And they had a lot of people in on work visas, including a lot of Russians. Am I allowed to say Russia anymore?
I don't know, but it's true.
But we did. We had a lot of Russian programmers, and other companies told me flat out, it's like, yeah, we're outsourcing a lot of our work to like India and other countries because we can get very qualified employees for a lot less money because the cost of living isn't nearly as high.
Well, then.
But now there seems to be a pivot back to this. And I have to wonder how many comic book editors are going to be based in America or North America because they might realize, hey, it's cheaper for us to hire somebody in another country that speaks perfectly fine English.
And they can say it's diversity initiatives.
They can say it's a diversity initiative. Yeah, there are some people I would argue, overseas that speak better English than Americans or Canadians, and they work cheaper. So anyway, just saying, it's not really a good thing for a lot of these people making noise on Twitter because a lot of these people in other countries aren't on Twitter all the time.
That's true. And they actually get the work done.
Causing problems. I'm just saying, you might want to keep your resume updated there, comic book editors who spend way too much time on Twitter. So after a little detective work, according to Johnston, it seems that after Image Comics went fully remote in 2020, they moved from Portland's Montgomery Park, which had been their home since 2016, to East Portland in October. It didn't make the news. Yeah, I didn't know anything about it. And DC Comics got everybody talking about how we don't need offices for comic book people anymore because they're not important enough.
I don't understand why, for the most part, they needed offices to begin with.
No,
but, not since like the computers have been the thing,
Yeah, you need a place to warehouse your books, and you need a place to distribute.
Right, but everything else could be done digitally, especially in the last 20 years or so.
Yeah, it used to be that you had to, for the most part, you had to live in the New York metro area, or you had to live, in California, wherever the publisher was, because you had to check in, or you had to FedEx your pages, or and it was a huge hassle. But now it's like, yep, Dropbox and done. PayPal me some money. That's how it works. So anyway, as it stands, the Image Comics office is basically popping in place for very local staffers, including Eric Stevenson, Dirk Wood, Alex Cox, place to receive mail and store stuff. This change is being felt across the industry. IDW closed their San Diego offices. I did not know that. Their sales manager is in New York. Their production manager moved to North Carolina. North Carolina? Oh my God. North Carolina.
Why? What's wrong with North Carolina?
It's North Carolina. It's not the West Coast. Marvel Comics has also continued to encourage remote working. Yeah, because it's cheaper. It's cheaper. You don't have to pay for those offices anymore, right? Dark Horse has got more of their staff back into the office, but remote working is still a thing there too. Now, the thing is that he brings up this union. And we've talked about the union. And this might shed some more light on some of their demands, which we thought were kind of weird. It was like, pay for staplers, pay for paper, which most businesses do if you're working remotely, as long as you have receipts for it. He said the situation might shed some light on the comic book workers union demands for the continuation of remote work for any employee who requests it, and the creation of a detailed policy outlining how the company provides reasonable accommodations and supplies for remote employees. Don't fire me, bro. And also pay for my stuff, my internet, my computer. Here's the thing though. Remote work, like I said, it makes it so much easier to get rid of employees. It really does. I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick, but I know there was one case in particular when I went remote and there was a round of layoffs, and I think it was easier to lay me off because I wasn't there every day.
Well, let's read the rest of this, though. This is where I'm like, okay, wait a minute. With employees in some cases now shouldering 100% of the costs that should be shared by the employer, like internet, power, furnishings, other office supplies, computer hardware, related maintenance costs to work from their own personal devices. But wait, whoa. This just sounds like they're trying to get the company to pay for shit. I'm sorry. They shouldn't have to pay for all your internet, all your power, all your office furniture because you chose to work from home.
Fine. So everybody's freelance. And if you're freelance, you're a contractor. If you're a contractor, you're responsible, unless other arrangements are made, you're responsible for your own equipment, maintenance,
because they're
and
just
taxes.
saying, if an employee requests to work from home, should be allowed to do so. Okay. And then they're demanding that they should be paying for everything. Well, at that point, you have the option to come into the office. They don't have to pay for your shit.
Yeah, except now it's interesting. There is no more office, really. It's been downgraded. Right. Look, I'm telling you, I think they might use this opportunity to get rid of some of these office workers because
I want to work from home, but my computer's not good enough. So I think you need to buy me a new computer. You need to pay my electric bill, and you need to pay for my internet, even though I'm only working 5 hours a day.
That's the other problem with remote work. Now, with freelancers working in comics, you get paid a page rate. A lot of other situations with people working in different creative industries, it's piecework. You get paid by the project, you get paid whatever. If you've got somebody that's supposedly a full-time employee, you don't have a guarantee that they're putting in their 8 or 10 hour day, So a lot of these people spend a lot of time on Twitter, and I'd be like, hey, it was 2:00 in the afternoon and we have deadlines. Why is there a 64-part tweet thread incoming about all the awful white men in the patriarchy in the comic book industry, and we have books to get out.
All these tweets about me not paying for their office and their internet, but you weren't even doing your job.
You weren't even doing your job. Yeah, I would have questions. I think they're going to use this to get rid of the union or attempt to downsize or something. They'll just be like, hey, a lot of your concerns not an issue anymore. You are office staff. We don't have an office anymore. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Goodbye. We don't need you.
That could be.
But yeah, DC Comics, this definitely is a downgrade. I'm sorry.
It is a downgrade.
Heidi McDonald talking about how they got downgraded when they moved to LA, when they moved to, Burbank. It was Burbank, I guess. And, they had a 20% staff reduction, and a lot of people stayed, because they were rooted in New York and they'd been in New York for years. But yeah, she was talking about how DC's been through the ringer. I can't believe Heidi McDonald is finally starting to espouse Comicsgate.
Oh, talking about Daniel Cherry III jumping ship.
Yeah, Daniel Cherry III jumped ship.
I was told his move was greeted with cheers internally. This is like everything we've been saying.
I think.
Oh my God, Heidi, blink if you're you.
I think Daniel Cherry III came into DC Comics, fucked everything up, and bolted. I
just think it's hilarious that she's saying the same shit we've been saying. Like I said, are we sure this is actually her?
I don't know. Have you been kidnapped, Heidi? Did Comicsgate kidnap you? What happened? Yeah, it's an awkward move. They weren't supposed to open this building until 2023. I think what's going to happen is Discovery's going to come in. They're going to gut DC again. DC's already been gutted. I mean, they laid a bunch of people off last year. And Discovery, they might not give a shit. They might just be like, we'll have kind of like Disney does with its comics. They have, there are some people in Disney Publishing worldwide that they license out the comics. They oversee the licensed comics, but for the most part, it's up to, other publishers to put together editorial and creative and all that. I could totally see them doing it and just being like, hey, let's just job out all these superhero comics to somebody else that gives a shit, save ourselves the hassle. They pay us for the right to publish these characters.
And we get to keep everything.
We get to keep everything. At the end of the day, that's Disney. People don't understand. If you do Disney comics and you have the Disney license, when your license expires, when you're out of they still get to keep all the content.
Right, that you paid someone to do.
Yeah, and the next person that comes along, they want to do Darkwing Duck comics or Scrooge comics, they get to use all that material if they have the license for those characters.
Even though somebody else paid for it.
Yes. And I could totally see them doing that.
But they said the building isn't even done, and they said it's not supposed to be able to be moved into until June, and that people have to take all their stuff home and keep it there until they can move into it in June.
That's not good. This sounds like a very last
But
minute
it's an
decision.
upgrade
It's an upgrade, everybody.
to a new building that wasn't supposed to be finished till next year. So, I wouldn't want to say that they're cutting corners, but when it's a year, like almost a year earlier than it should have been, I'm kind of like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
They finished like part of the building, but they still have to finish the rest of the building. And how fun's that going to be?
Yeah, right. That was kind of like my senior year of high school. They were actually expanding the school.
Yeah, and how'd that work out for everybody?
Oh, it was horrible. We had hallways that were completely closed off. I know the cafeteria had been moved. Some of the classrooms were moved to the basement where they had asbestos in the ceilings.
Well, when I was substitute teaching like a couple of years ago, they were doing that to the middle school. And you could literally hear them pounding while they're trying to do classes.
Oh, yeah, we had jackhammers and
teachers were
everything
like,
going, yeah.
you did not do that right now. I was there when they were building this stuff while classes were going on. And in our case, it was more elementary age kids. So it was like these poor kids couldn't pay attention to anything.
Yeah, it was really distracting. I mean, it was my senior year. I only needed like a credit to graduate, but it was really distracting. I mean, the whole school was torn up, and yeah.
I had to just take English, and that was all I had. English and gym.
I think that was
two things I had to take that I couldn't graduate until I finished.
Anyway, she talks about how DC staffers have a lot of crap, and they had offices, and the folks brought their toys and junk in. I actually had been to the DC office once. And I was there for a few hours. It was pretty cool. They had, some statues and lots of artwork. And, Marvel was actually, I'd say DC had the better office over Marvel. Marvel was kind of utilitarian, but DC had a lot of cool stuff. But yeah, both of them now, they're just like completely stripped because comics aren't that important. They're not. I'm sorry, guys. This is WeWork. And if you don't know what WeWork is, we have people asking what WeWork is it's a co-op space.
Go look it up. There's a documentary.
Yeah, it was a huge scam too. The WeWork company was a huge scam, but it's a co-op working space where you might have a bunch of offices that you can rent for the day, and you've got some cubicles or whatever, but that's not actually your office. You get to come in and use the amenities there, but it's not actually your office. You can't bring your crap in and leave it there. And that's basically
shared workspace.
Yeah, it's a shared workspace. That's what's going to happen to DC Comics. And I'm telling you, it's going to be flexible because when they get rid of you completely, they'll just have another division come into that space. Because they don't know what they're going to do with DC Comics yet. If they knew what they were going to do with DC Comics,
it would be a permanent office.
It would be a permanent office. There's definitely something going on, but yeah.
That's a cool building, though.
Yes, this is our current building, which I guess was pretty posh.
I gathered that from the Batman statue.
Yeah, but they're getting downgraded. I'm sorry. This is where comics are at. I guess this is the new one.
This is an artist rendering because it's not built yet, apparently.
Not done yet. Oh, I don't know. Who knows? With Batman looking to be a hit, maybe DC executives will decide that DC Comics should be treated with the dignity and respect it deserves. No, they can make those movies without the comic books.
Wait, but a lot of their comics are doing shit.
Yeah, a lot of them are doing shit.
And Superman is not doing well. The new one. You know which one I'm referring to.
Superman's doing dudes now. That's what Superman's doing.
And it's not going well.
It's not going well.
Can we wrap this up? Because I'm bored.
Yeah. So a day of reckoning is coming, guys. I'm sorry. You should have built your life raft, I think, when
I guess
you had the opportunity. Gonna wrap it up.
Yep.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.
Bye.